Jai Hind. I would like to start my seminar with a small video.
My name's Landon Johnson. I'm 24 years old. I'm from White House, Texas. I cut trees for a living. I've been dealing with my dental situation practically my whole life, ever since I can remember. Even my baby teeth were bad. The most embarrassing part about the whole thing is being around little kids and they're being like, "Hey, what's wrong with your teeth?" And well, So as soon as I walked into Dr. Kovac's office and got in a chair and sat down and he saw what I was dealing with, he was like, "We've got to do something. We've got to help this kid out." And they've come up with me a plan and a solution, and he's just been so helpful and have made me feel so comfortable on wanting to get
Go ahead and look at your brand new smile.
Oh my God. I'm still getting used to it,
This testimonial of the patient shows the kind of transformation a dentist can bring in one's life by transforming his or her smile. The restoration of smile is one of the most appreciated and gratifying services a dentist can render. Aesthetic dentistry, as defined in Webster's Medical Dentistry, is the art and science of dentistry applied to create or enhance beauty of an individual within functional and physiological limits. The positive psychological effects of improving a patient's smile often contribute to an improved self-image, enhanced self-esteem, and also brings confidence in an individual to socialize. These improvements represent conservative aesthetic dentistry as a new dimension of dental treatment for patients. On this note, I, Dr. Kritika Ahuja, from Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics, would like to present my seminar on the topic Conservative Aesthetic Procedures. I shall be covering my seminar under the following contents. Conservative aesthetic procedures involve alteration of tooth contact and contours, as in conditions like peg lateral teeth, which require alteration in shape, attrition, which require alteration of embrasures, correction of diastema, and correction of minor defects in position and alignment. It also involves correction of lost tooth structure due to pathological and traumatic defects like erosion and fractured tooth, and also the aesthetic management of discoloration. To begin with, alteration of tooth contact and contours. The shape of teeth largely determines their aesthetic appearance. A basic knowledge of normal tooth anatomy is fundamental to the success of any conservative aesthetic dental procedure. Characteristic features of masculine teeth include close incisal embrasures and prominent incisal angles, and that of feminine smile include rounded incisal angles, open incisal and facial embrasures, and softened facial line angles. Illusion of shape of teeth are particularly valuable for controlling the apparent dimension of teeth. Compared with normal tooth contours, a tooth can be made to appear narrower by positioning the mesiofacial and distrofacial line angles closer together. Developmental depressions also can be positioned closer together to enhance the illusion of narrowness. Similarly, greater apparent width can be achieved by positioning line angles and developmental depressions further apart. Although more difficult, the apparent length of teeth can also be changed by illusion. Compared with normal tooth contours, a tooth can be made to appear shorter by emphasizing the horizontal elements such as gingival perichymata and by positioning the height of contour further incisally. The opposite tenets are true for increasing the apparent length of a tooth. The heights of contour are moved farther apart gingivally, and vertical elements such as developmental depressions are emphasized when illusion of lengthening of tooth is required. When we alter the shape of teeth, they need to be symmetrical and in proportion with rest of the teeth. Asymmetric teeth or teeth that are out of proportion to the surrounding teeth disrupt a sense of balance and harmony essential for optimal aesthetics. Thus, two important principles should be followed. Rule of golden proportion, which gives relative proportionality of maxillary anteriors, and width is to length ratio, which gives optimal proportion of individual teeth. The golden proportion, as given by Lombardi, is a smile when viewed from the front is considered to be aesthetically pleasing if each tooth in that smile, starting from the midline, is approximately 60% of the size of the tooth immediately mesial to it. The exact proportion of the distal tooth to the mesial tooth is 0.1618. Average width to length ratio for maxillary central incisor in men is 0.85 and that of in women is 0.86. Keeping these guidelines in mind, let's see a few cases where alteration of shape of teeth can bring out better aesthetics. In cases of congenitally missing lateral incisors, either the canines are naturally present in place of laterals or they are orthodontically brought into place of incisors. As in this case, the tip of canine is flattened, after which the tooth is reshaped as lateral incisors using composite. This is a preoperative view of a patient who has peg lateral teeth present bilaterally, which can be reshaped into lateral incisors with the help of composite augmentation. After isolation of adjacent teeth, etching is done for 20 seconds, which is then rinsed and dried, followed by adhesive application. Palatal and proximal surface are built against the contoured matrix band using body composite, after which dentine and enamel layer are placed to establish proper shape and contour. Composite buildup of canine and central incisors are also done for diastema closure, followed by finishing and polishing of composite restorations. This is the postoperative view of the patient where we can appreciate the change in shape of the lateral incisors has improved the symmetry and proportionality of the smile, thus enhancing aesthetics. Incisal embrasures are the small triangular gaps between the teeth at the biting edge. The depth of incisal embrasures between the two central incisors is usually 10 to 20% of the contact area of the two teeth. Between the next two teeth, it is usually a bit deeper and it contributes to deepen as we move posteriorly. This is a characteristic of natural teeth. Men have shallower incisal embrasure than women. Attrition due to age or parafunctional habits results in shallower embrasures and angular incisal edges. Attrited teeth with adequate width to length ratio can be reshaped simply by recontouring the incisal angles so as to deepen the embrasures. For example, in this case, maxillary anterior teeth with worn incisal edges and sharp line angles are seen. Firstly, areas to be reshaped are outlined. Outlined areas give the patient an idea of what the final result will look like. A diamond instrument is then used to reshape the incisal edges, and a rubber abrasive disc is used to polish the incisal edges and angles. Cosmetic recontouring results in a more youthful smile. In ideal natural dentition, teeth are present in tight contact. Presence of diastema gives an unaesthetic appearance. Its etiology being abnormal frenal attachment, transient malocclusion, unerupted mesiodense or supernumerary tooth, or tooth material to arch length discrepancy. When we talk about diastema closure, especially midline diastema, it is important to know where should the midline lie. The midline refers to the vertical contact interface between two maxillary central incisors. It should be collinear to the midline of the face. The philtrum of the lip is the most accurate anatomical guidepost. As long as the midline is parallel with long axis of the face, midline discrepancies up to 3 to 4 mm is not considered unaesthetic. Maxillary and mandibular midlines do not coincide in 75% of cases. Mismatch between maxillary and mandibular midlines does not affect the aesthetics because mandibular teeth are not usually visible while smiling. Diastemas should not be closed without recognizing and treating the underlying cause. Treatment modalities include orthodontic treatment, composite augmentation of proximal surfaces, veneers, and interdisciplinary approach. The first modality of correction of diastema is composite augmentation of proximal surface, wherein composite buildup is done keeping the width to length ratio in an optimum range. Excessively large diastemas cannot be solely corrected by composite restorations. For example, in this case, the diastema is small enough to be closed by composite, maintaining the width to length ratio. Veneers. A veneer is a layer of tooth colored material that is applied to a tooth to restore localized or generalized defects and intrinsic discoloration. On basis of technique used, veneers can be either direct veneers which are made intraorally with directly applying composite, or indirect veneers which are fabricated extraorally. On the basis of coverage, they can be partial or full veneers. Partial veneers does not extend subgingivally or involve the incisal angle. Full veneers with window preparation design extend to the gingival crest and terminate at the facio-incisal angle, and full veneer with either a butt joint, incisal preparation design or an incisal lapping preparation design extend subgingivally and include all of incisal surface. Small localized intrinsic discoloration or defects that are surrounded by healthy enamel are ideally treated with direct partial veneers. The advantage of direct veneers is that it can be restored in one appointment. The preferred choice of light cure composite are microfilled, as they are excellent enamel replacements because of their optical properties. Direct full veneers are indicated for the restoration of generalized defects or areas of intrinsic staining involving most of the facial surface of the tooth. Veneers fabricated in the laboratory after making an impression are termed indirect veneers. These can be fabricated by using processed composite, cast or pressed ceramic, and feldspathic porcelain. Its advantage being reduced chairside time, shades and contours can be better controlled outside the mouth, multiple teeth can be treated simultaneously, and is less sensitive to the operator's technique. Following are some guidelines for preparing tooth for veneers. A well-defined chamfer at the level of the gingival crest provides a definite preparation margin. Preparation depth ranges from 0.3 to 0.5 mm near gingival margin and 0.5 to 0.7 mm mid-facially. Keeping a conservative intra-enamel preparation, which is the key to success of veneers. Extent of preparation is terminated just facial to the proximal contact, except in case of diastema, where the preparation must be extended from the facial surfaces onto the mesial surface, terminating at the mesiolingual line angle. This lingual extension of the preparation allows for proper re-establishment of the entire proximal contour of the tooth in the final restoration. A study was conducted by Edderhoff D. and Sorensen J.A. on tooth structure removal associated with various preparation designed for anterior teeth, and concluded that tooth preparation for porcelain laminate veneers and resin bonded prostheses require approximately 1/4 to 1/2 the amount of tooth reduction of conventional complete coverage crowns, thus is more conservative as compared to full coverage crowns. Coming over to diastema closure using veneers. This is a preoperative case of a patient requiring veneers for diastema closure. Firstly, a mock-up made of temporary material is placed over the unprepared teeth. The preparation is then done through the mock-up, which helps in minimal tooth structure removal. Depth cuts are made first on the labial surface. And then on the incisal surface. The depth cuts are then leveled and simultaneously creating the gingival chamfer line. The preparation is extended onto the mesiolingual line angle to give a proper emergence profile to the prosthesis. This is the view of the finished preparation. Gingival cord is then placed, which helps in adequately recording the finished line. After which, the impression is made with single step technique and then poured. Veneers are then fabricated in the laboratory. Etching of the tooth is done with 37% orthophosphoric acid for 20 seconds. It is then rinsed and dried off. followed by application of double layer of adhesive. Etching of the internal surface of veneers are also done with 10% hydrofluoric acid for 20 seconds, followed by application of bonding agent containing silane coupling agent and is light cured. Resin cement is then used to cement the veneers. The excess cement is then removed. Flash curing is done for 1 second for ease of removal of excess material with help of BP blade, followed by complete curing. This is the post-operative view after finishing and polishing. As the name suggests, no-prep veneers are veneers which do not require any preparation for their placement. They are best indicated when teeth are inherently under contour, interdental spaces or open incisal embrasures are present, or when both conditions exist. This is a preoperative view of a case with interdental spaces due to presence of microdont lateral incisors bilaterally. This can be treated with no-prep veneers. After impression making and bite registration, pressed and stained lithium disilicate veneers are fabricated, which are then first tried on to check their fit. The adjacent teeth are protected from contamination with a transparent matrix and then etching is done. Etching of the internal surface of veneer is done with 10% hydrofluoric acid for 20 seconds. After etching and rinsing, universal bonding agent which contains silane coupling agent is applied. After selecting the shade of resin cement, veneers are luted, finished and polished. We all can appreciate the aesthetic enhancement by establishment of proper contacts and contours. An article was published in the Journal of Applied and Oral Science in the year 2016 by Hernandez et al. On influence of resin cement shade on the color and translucency of ceramic veneers, and was concluded that use of resin cement may change ceramic translucency, chroma and shade. Care must be taken in the selection of cement shade to achieve the best shade possible. This is a preoperative view of a patient with a large diastema of approximately 4.5 mm which cannot be solely corrected by conservative procedures and demands for an interdisciplinary approach. The treatment consisted of two main steps. First, an orthodontic treatment was done to distribute the spaces between the upper incisors to create good tooth-to-tooth proportion, creating multiple small diastemas between central incisor and between central and lateral incisors with expected duration of 2 months. Digital mock-up was done. Digital smile designing was used to simulate the suitable proportions of width and height between teeth. The palatal wall was created with aid of silicon index. The proximal walls were then built up using sectional matrix. A final enamel layer was applied on the proximal and labial surface to complete the restoration using enamel sheet. This picture shows the preoperative clinical view of the patient, and on the left hand it shows after the diastema closure. Proper position and alignment of teeth is an important element for aesthetic consideration and gives sense of beauty. Malposed or rotated teeth disrupt the arch form and may interfere with the apparent relative proportion of teeth. Etiology being teeth to size or arch length discrepancy, ectopic eruption, trauma, or premature or delayed eruption of teeth. Gross malocclusion need orthodontic treatment. However, minor defects in position and alignment can be corrected by conservative procedures. A minor rotation like this is first treated by reducing the enamel in the area of prominence on the mesiolabial area, and the deficient area on the distolabial surface is restored to proper contour with composite. Left maxillary central incisor, which is in slight lingual version, can be brought into alignment by restorative augmentation of facial surface, but only minor correction can be done by addition or restorative material or removal of tooth structure. Next, I will be discussing the procedures which are used for correction of pathological and traumatic defects. Erosion is a pathological defect which results in irreversible loss of tooth structure due to chemical dissolution by acids, like ingestion of acidic beverages and food like citrus fruits and carbonated drinks, xerostomia or acid reflux. The treatment modality being either composite augmentation or direct or indirect veneers. This is a preoperative view of a patient with acid erosion on maxillary anterior teeth. An impression was made and poured on which wax-up model was made. Then a silicone putty index was made from the model. Tooth preparation is done, followed by etching and adhesive application. Incisal edges and palatal walls are built up with the help of putty index, followed by complete restoration of the labial surface. Finally, finishing and polishing is done. Another clinical situation is traumatic tooth loss, wherein fracture limited to enamel and dentine can be aesthetically and conservatively restored with either fracture reattachment or composite buildup. This is a preoperative view of a case of fractured central incisor where the patient reported along with fractured segment. The fit of the fragment was checked onto the tooth. Bevels were placed on the tooth and the fractured fragment in order to enhance the retention. The coronal fragment and fractured tooth were etched with 37% orthophosphoric acid separately and then rinsed, dried, and bonding agent was applied and light cured. Further, coronal fragment was bonded to the tooth using flowable light cure composite resin after proper shade matching. Finishing and polishing is done to mask the line of demarcation. This is a case done in the Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics, Swati Dental College, Meerut, in which loss of tooth structure was restored with composite buildup in relation to 1:1. Firstly, circumferential beveling was done to increase the surface area for bonding and to ensure gradual transition between restorative material and tooth. Then, etching and bonding was done, followed by composite restoration. Coming over to aesthetic management of tooth discoloration. Discoloration could be due to extrinsic stains, its etiology being poor oral hygiene, diet like tea or coffee, tobacco stains, restorative material, and mouthwashes like chlorhexidine. Intrinsic etiology could be hereditary disorders, medications like tetracycline, fluorosis, or trauma. For management of discoloration, we need to record the color specifications of the tooth, both preoperatively and postoperatively, and that is why shade selection becomes an important step in these procedures. Color is the most complex and least understood artistic element. Fundamentals of color being hue, value, and chroma. Hue is the intrinsic quality or shade of the color, value is the intensity of particular hue, and chroma is the relative lightness or darkness of hue. The most commonly used shade guide is the Vita Classic Shade Guide. Here the tabs are clustered according to the hue, where A indicates red-yellow, B indicates yellow, C indicates grey, and D indicates red-grey. VitaSpan Master is a 3D shade guide which is value oriented. Here, first the value is recorded, followed by chroma and then hue. Teeth typically are composed of a multitude of colors. Use of several different shades of restorative material may be required to restore a tooth aesthetically. A gradation of color usually occurs with the gingival region being typically darker because of thinner enamel. In most individuals, canine are slightly darker than incisors. Various treatment modalities available for aesthetic management of tooth discoloration include bleaching, resin infiltration, micro and macro abrasion, and vinyls. Bleaching is a treatment modality involving an oxidative chemical that alters the light absorbing and or light reflecting nature of a material structure, thereby increasing its perception of whiteness. Various bleaching agents include hydrogen peroxide, carbamide peroxide, and sodium perborate. Bleaching can be done both for vital and non-vital teeth. In-office vital bleaching include thermocatalytic bleaching, waiting room bleaching, and power bleaching. In-office vital bleaching has the advantage that it is performed under dentist control and has the potential for bleaching teeth rapidly. Thermocatalytic bleaching involves the use of a light to generate heat, which may accelerate the oxidation reaction of the hydrogen peroxide and expedite treatment through a thermocatalytic effect. Various heat-producing lights include plasma arc lamps and tungsten halogen curing light. However, it is no longer recommended because heat causes harmful effects on pulp, causes dehydration, and increases tooth sensitivity. Waiting room bleach technique includes 35 to 40% carbamide peroxide, which is applied using custom-made bleaching tray. The patient is then made to sit in the waiting area for 30 minutes with the bleaching tray in the mouth. After 30 minutes, bleaching agent is suctioned and then rinsed off. Power bleaching. Bleaching agents have catalysts which get activated by light of specific wavelengths and fastens the bleaching action. These are the examples of commercially available bleaching agents for power bleaching, which include Polar Office, Philips Hue, and Opalescent Boost. Active ingredients in these agents is 30 to 40% hydrogen peroxide. These bleaching agents are activated by different light sources like metal halide lamp, LED light, and argon and carbon dioxide laser. To begin with the procedure, present shade of the teeth are determined. Isolation is done with the help of cotton rolls. Gingival barrier is placed, specially taking care of interdental and free gingiva, and is cured for 1 minute. Bleaching gel is then applied on the tooth surface in the thickness of 1 to 2 mm in the area of desired for bleaching. The bleaching agent is then activated by the light source. Maximum 2 to 3 cycles of bleaching of 8 to 10 minutes each are recommended in one session. The bleaching agent is then removed with high vacuum evacuator and is then rinsed off. The shade is determined again to see if the desired shade has been achieved or not. Post-operative instructions are then given to the patient. Accidental exposure of bleaching agent to soft tissues may cause chemical burns. To reverse the oxidizing effects of bleaching agent, vitamin E is applied on the exposed soft tissues. Dentists prescribe home-applied bleaching, also called night guard bleaching, involves the use of low concentration carbamide peroxide of 10 to 20%, which is equivalent to 3.5 to 6.5% hydrogen peroxide. To begin with the procedure, firstly, present shade of the tooth is determined. Alginate impression of the concerned arch is made. The bleaching tray is made from a soft clear material on this model, and then the tray is trimmed to fit the patient's mouth. The dentist or dental auxiliary then goes over the instructions on how to load the tray, when to wear it, and how long to wear it. When 10% of carbamide peroxide is used, it should be worn for 8 hours per day. When a higher concentration of bleaching agent is used, then 3 to 4 hours per day is sufficient. The tray should be worn at night at least for 2 weeks, and then the dentist should be revisited. The patient should place a small amount of bleaching agent into the molds of the tray, and excess material has to be wiped off. The primary indication of non-vital bleaching is to lighten teeth that have undergone root canal therapy. Walking bleach technique is the most conservative approach to re-establish normal color of localized discolored teeth. It was reported by Marsh and Salvas in 1938, who recommended the use of sodium perborate in saline. Then, modified bleaching technique was introduced by Nutting and Co. in 1963, who recommended the use of sodium perborate and hydrogen peroxide. This is a preoperative view of a discolored tooth in relation to 1-1, which was done in the Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics, Subhati Dental College. This is a radiograph after obturation, and this is the radiograph showing removal of gutta percha from the canal. Then GIC barrier was placed. Conditioning of dentine surface of the access cavity with 37% orthophosphoric acid was done to remove the smear layer and to open the dentinal tubules, which helps penetration of the bleaching agent deep into the tubules and increases its effectiveness. Sodium perborate was then mixed with 6.5% hydrogen peroxide and placed in the access cavity. This is the clinical picture after 2 weeks of bleaching. This is the post-operative picture after the completion of bleaching and restoration. Artin D. et al. Reviewed current status of tooth whitening with the walking bleach and concluded that discolored teeth can be successfully treated using the walking bleach technique. 3% hydrogen peroxide could be used instead of water. 30% hydrogen peroxide should not be used for the walking bleach technique, as it increases the chances of external root resorption. In-office non-vital bleaching includes the use of 30 to 35% hydrogen peroxide, which is accelerated by placement of heated instrument into the pulp chamber. However, it is not recommended due to chances of external cervical resorption. Resin infiltration technique stands on the concept of no drilling, that is, no tooth preparation for restoration. It was introduced in Germany at the Charité University Hospital in Berlin. The very low viscosity resin, referred to as infiltrant, acts by occluding the pores of the lesion body of hypomineralized area by capillary forces. The components includes etchant. Surface conditioning is necessary because hypermineralized surface layer hampers resin infiltration into the lesion. Ethanol removes water from pores, facilitating the resin's penetration. Infiltrant, which is low viscosity light cure resins which penetrates into hypermineralized area. This shows the tip which is used for applying in the interproximal area, and this is the tip which is used for applying on the label surface. The indication includes subsurface proximal carious lesions, smooth surface white decalcification post-orthodontic treatment, hypoplasia stains due to traumatic injuries, mild to moderate fluorosis, large single bands due to fluorosis, and lesions due to molar incisor hypoplasia. This is a post-operative view of a case requiring resin infiltration. After prophylaxis, liquid rubber dam is applied for isolation. Then 15% hydrochloric acid is applied as etchant for 2 minutes. Then the lesion is subsequently desiccated for 15 seconds with 99% ethanol. Since it has refractive index similar to that of tooth structure, it offers a preview of that will be achieved by the resin. Infiltrant is then applied and light cured followed by polishing. This is the post-operative view wherein the results can be evidently appreciated. A study was conducted by Eckstein et al. On camouflage effects following resin infiltration of post-orthodontic white spot lesions, and was concluded that aesthetic camouflage effects achieved by white spot lesion infiltration were not altered significantly after 12 months. Thus, method of resin infiltration can be recommended for an enduring aesthetic improvement of post-orthodontic white spot lesions. Microabrasion is a conservative method for removing enamel to improve discolorations limited to the outer enamel layer. It removes opaque brown stains and smoothens surface irregularities by providing a more regular and shining surface. Microabrasion is a modality used in both adults and pediatric patients. This shows a young patient with fluorosis stains on teeth number 8 and 9. A rubber dam is placed to isolate the teeth to be treated and to protect the gingival tissues from acid in the Prima paste or compound. Protective glasses should be worn by the patient to shield the eyes from any spatter. The Prima paste is applied to the defective area of the tooth with a special rubber cup that has fluted edges. Low-speed handpiece is recommended for the application of the Prima compound to reduce the possibility of removing too much tooth structure and to prevent spatter. Immediately after treatment, topical fluoride is applied to teeth to enhance remineralization. This is the post-operative view which shows marked reduction in stains. Opacity of enamel which do not respond to microabrasion can be removed by macroabrasion. Macroabrasion simply uses a 12-fluted composite finishing burr or a fine-grit finishing diamond in a high-speed handpiece to remove the defect. Care must be taken to use light, intermittent pressure. Air-water spray is recommended not only as a coolant but also to maintain the tooth in a hydrated state to facilitate the assessment of defect removal. After removal of the defect, a 30-fluted finishing burr is used. Final finishing and polishing is accomplished by an abrasive rubber point. Sometimes discolored non-white teeth cannot be managed only by bleaching or veneers. In such cases, a combination of both modalities is required. This is a preoperative view which shows discoloration in relation to 1-1. Discoloration is reduced after 2 weeks of walking bleaching. Silicone index is made and then tooth preparation is done with its help to assess the amount of tooth structure to be removed. This is a clinical view after the cementation of veneers. Missing tooth can also be sometimes managed conservatively. Maryland bridge, which is a type of resin bonded bridge, are known for its conservative nature. Metal attachments located on opposing sides are bonded to existing anchor teeth. This special resin bonded form of bridge work is mainly used on front teeth in cases where the adjoining teeth are still in stable condition. This Maryland bridge has a metal framework. This is Procera Maryland bridge with one-piece zirconia framework, which incorporates an all-ceramic pontic. This shows Carolina bridge, which is an all porcelain bonded pontic. These bridges require minimal preparation on the lingual side of the adjacent teeth, thus are conservative and aesthetic. It is not only adults but also children who are equally conscious about their dental aesthetics. Some of the aesthetic procedures involved in pediatric dentistry are as follows. Clinical situations like extensive caries, fractured incisors, discolored teeth demand for aesthetic restorations. The most popular type of preformed aesthetic crown for primary incisors is the composite resin strip crowns. This type of crown was introduced in 1979 by Weber and colleagues. Strip crowns, however, are contraindicated in cases where primary teeth are too severely decayed that they present with insufficient tooth structure for retention and bonding, deep overbites, and in children with periodontal disease. This is a case report of a 5-year-old patient. Clinical examination revealed the presence of carious lesions on teeth 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 6-1, 6-2 and 6-3. Removal of the carious tissue was performed at low speed under relative isolation of the operative field. The strip crowns were placed on the dental remnants in order to verify their correct adaptation. Subsequently, conditioning was performed with 35% phosphoric acid for 15 seconds in the dentine and 30 seconds in the enamel, and delicate drying with aid of absorbent point. The adhesive was then applied and cured. The strip crowns were filled with composite, placed onto position. Excessive material is removed, after which photoactivation is done for 40 seconds. A sharp handheld instrument such as cloyd or discoid carver is recommended to peel off the strip crown shell. Luxa crowns are full coronal restoration using temporization material. These are aesthetic and cheaper alternative to prefabricated zirconia, pre-veneered stainless steel and polycarbonate crowns. A case report was published in International Journal of Clinical Pediatric Dentistry in the year 2017 on rehabilitation of primary anterior teeth using temporization material. In this case, a 4-year-old male patient had reported with a chief complaint of caries 5-1. Initially, caries was excavated, tooth preparation was done, followed by selection of an appropriate size strip crown. The strip crown is loaded with the temporization material and placed onto the prepared tooth. It is removed while the material is still in elastic stage and is allowed to set extraorally. The strip crown was peeled off and crown was cemented. Certain soft tissue defects can be conservatively and aesthetically managed with the help of periodontal microsurgery. Periodontal microsurgery causes minimal tissue trauma, which is accomplished through smaller incision and reduced surgical fields. Primary passive wound closure is accomplished by microsuturing to eliminate gaps and dead spaces at the wound edge. Gingival recession is one of the tissue defects which can be corrected by microsurgery. This is a preoperative view of a case of Miller's class 2 gingival recession. Pouch is created with the help of microsurgical blade. Connective tissue graft is then received from the palatal mucosa and then inserted into the pouch. It is then sutured with 6-0 suture material. This is the post-operative view which shows rapid healing due to reduced incision size and microsuturing. Conservative aesthetic procedures strive to merge beauty and function along with preservation of tooth structure. Correction of these types of dental problems can produce dramatic changes in appearance, which often results in improved confidence, personality, and social life. Thus, we as dentists are blessed to be a reason that one can smile. These are the list of my references. I would like to acknowledge my principal, Dr. Nikhil Srivastav sir, for giving me this opportunity to present my integrated seminar. I would also like to extend my deepest gratitude towards my HOD, Dr. Vinita Nikhil ma'am, my guide, Dr. Parul Bansal ma'am, my co-guide, Dr. Padmanabh Jha sir, and all the other faculty members of my department for their valuable inputs. Last but not the least, I would like to thank my seniors, my batchmates, and my juniors for their constant support. Thank you.